Welcome into Last Call and welcome to March. You know what that means. March Madness, not around the corner, but here. As we got started last week to cap off the regular season against McKendree and UMSL. We'll start with this women's squad for UINDY. It's the end of the road for them this season, and these last 4 or 5 games, just heartbreakers.
Absolutely heartbreaker. You came into the season third in the GLVC poll to begin the season, and you finished 9th, just outside the bracket in the 8th spot. In these last 2 games, UMSL, McKendree, both away games, both in Missouri and Illinois, obviously. 1 of 2 wins probably would have gotten them in the GLVC tournament, but 2 losses in their season. 2
losses, and the first loss of those would come at UMSL. And it's important to note that both of the squads that UINDY played this weekend, very competent teams, very good teams. You played the leading scorer in the conference, in the Great Lakes Valley Conference, in Jalissa Stokes, who at the end of a game that could have gone either way, Jalissa Stokes, from a tie score, hits a buzzer beater as the shot clock expires, or well, that's what the call was, to win it as it goes. It was a controversial situation because Jalissa Stokes hits the shots. Obviously, the University of Missouri St. Louis called them UMSL. They're up celebrating. The crowd is going crazy. But the referees take at least 5-6 minutes to go and review this at the replay monitor, and then they go back to half court. They conference themselves and talk for another 3-4 minutes, and they come out of it. Bucket counts, UMSL wins. What was your take on that?
See, that's where I'm confused. How can you go over to center court and talk over a play for 3 or 4 minutes when you have to look at the video monitor to understand whether it was good or not? What was the conversation possibly there for that 3-minute stint?
That's the question, right? And that's why there was a lot of frustration in the UINDY locker room, not even after just this game, but throughout the season. They've been dealing with calls on calls on calls. You go back to Lewis, where you're seeing 3 players in foul trouble going to halftime, and we're sending calls in to the NCAA, to the GLVC, to look at these things, make sure we hold our refs to the highest standard. But that's all she wrote for this season. Bright spots, though. Do you have a favorite moment from this squad?
I mean, it was a fun season. They started off fairly well. The early season, they didn't get, they were thinking 1-3 to begin the season. They got a few wins. We're stringing together some wins. It was still, all in all, a fun season. They have a lot to look forward to. Heading into the future, they're going to keep Alana Wells, obviously their main scorer, main playmaker on the floor. But, I mean, sucks to end that way, especially. I mean, you lost 2 of your last 3 games on a buzzer beater. It was right there for the taking for these Greyhounds. They're a top team in the conference on the right day, 100%.
On the right day. It's funny that you mentioned that, because we saw this team play at Maryville, and if UINDY would have played that brand of basketball, that style of basketball, where they'd go out and just dominate like that, obviously it's hard to ask every game, but we saw what this team was capable of. They are out at that 9th spot. That's just the way it goes. Yeah. But as we head into the men's team, it's all smiles. It was ice cream on the way home. We went to Culver's, got myself a strawberry shake. What'd you get?
I got myself a little mixer.
Well, the entire team got something because it was a successful trip to UMSL and McKendree. That's to cap off their regular season conference championship stint and what it was and all of its greatness.
What a way to end this season. This team didn't start the way they might have wanted to, but they closed it out beautifully. Finished 17-3 in conference play. That's the same record they had last year. 21-7 overall in the season, I think on a 5-game win streak. And you go to UMSL and McKendree, 2 places you have never won before in the stint of head coach Paul Corsaro, and get 2 convincing wins.
This team is about getting first. They'll have a chance at a couple here coming up this week and next week. First, you go to St. Charles, Missouri. That's Lindenwood University to play in the conference tournament. And the thing is, you're turning around playing McKendree again on Thursday, the team that you just beat, we should say, on Saturday. So we kind of talked about how you're playing the same team 2 games in a row when the stakes are super high. Do you think they showed their hand on Saturday?
I think they showed a decent amount of their hand. I mean, these last few games, we've seen an emphasis on getting Jarvis Walker the ball. He had a lot of the ball in the first half, like 20 points in that first half, possibly. He's been on fire. But I don't think they did too much. Because, I mean, at one point, the game was out of hand. And the Greyhounds just put their subs in and left them to do their own thing. Because, I mean, the Greyhounds, we weren't expecting it, I don't think. But they went into McKendree and just blew them out of the water.
Wiped the floor. The second leading scorer in the conference, Milos Vicentic, averaging 22 a game. He had just 12 on way below 50% shooting.
And how about Caleb Zerlini? Only 3 points for him. He's the second leading scorer on the Bearcat squad. The Grants held him to 3 points on very poor shooting.
He only made 1 field goal all game, and this is an all-GLVC talent. You want to talk about defense? This UINDY team hasn't. As we look in the conference, you have McKendree. Second round, it's looking like William Jewell.
And we know William Jewell and the Greyhounds, those two matchups this year were so much fun. The one in Missouri against William Jewell, obviously Greyhounds lost a close one there, had a chance to win it at the buzzer, missed the three. And in the return game at Nickerson Hall, Greyhounds won a very close competitive battle. Greyhounds, Cardinals, second round matchup.
And
looking forward to it.
Even with the 1 seed, there's no easy road to the championship here, because you're looking at McKendree first, William Jewell second, and on the other side of the bracket, you have Lewis waiting there for you too, who beat you earlier this year on a buzzer beater. So past the conference, you're still hosting right now, as if it were to sit as it sits right now.
You would think so. You would think so. The new rankings come out on Wednesday. Seems like right now the top two would be UINDY and Lake Superior State. Lake Superior State has that head-to-head. They beat the Greyhounds at Nickerson Hall earlier in the season. And then I think the third right now is Walsh. They've come out of nowhere, 21-5 Walsh. But the Greyhounds, I think, barely hold that edge. But one loss in the conference tournament, you might fall out of that one spot.
And I want to go back to the conference tournament just for 1 sec. I know we're kind of partial to UINDY, but if you have a dark horse in this tournament, who is it? UMSL.
They're a 7 seed. In my opinion, got a very favorable game with Upper Iowa in that 7-2 matchup, and they can make some noise. We know UMSL last year, obviously they won the Midwest Regional here at Nickerson Hall, one of the best teams in the conference these last few seasons. They have had a lot of injuries, a lot to deal with this season, a lot of transfer players, but if they can put it together, I can see this squad making a solid run and maybe even winning the conference tournament here.
I like UMSL. I like William Jewell as well. They're one of the toughest teams that we've seen all year, but who I'm going with, if it's not UINDY, it's Lewis. You got to watch this kid named Rob Stroud. He's the most fun basketball player to watch in the GLVC outside of the Greyhounds, I got to say. This guy can slam it, shoot it. He made a shot from distance behind the backboard at Lewis. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. This guy deserves to be on the top 10 each and every week, at least that I've seen him. But as we wrap up Greyhound basketball, we're going to head and look up to the Division I level as Purdue. They took on Michigan State, and Zach Edey continues his reign of terror in the Big Ten.
Zach Edey, I mean, what more has he got to prove at this point that he's one of the best players, if not the best player in history? I mean, this guy is dominant at every level, offense, defense, whatever you want to name.
And Zach Edey, you see him working down here in the post. He's going to go to work, do his thing, slam it down. I want to bring note to what he said about his point guard who controls it right now in Braden Smith. He said, if you're putting me on your All-American brackets, you better put him on there as well. And I think with Braden Smith, with Fletcher Lawyer, and the shooters this team has, I like Purdue. I think this is their best chance in years.
100%. This team is a level above last year's squad. Last year, the guard play just wasn't there. Now you have Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer. Those players are playing phenomenally. Braden Smith is putting up great numbers, 23 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists last game. And, you know, it really helps out Zach Edey, too, because it takes some things off of his shoulders, having other players that can go and get a bucket for him.
And I think the shooters around him, and as you said, you finally have that guy in Braden Smith to kind of open things up for him, take some pressure off. We know Zach Edey can go to work one-on-one against anybody, not just in the Big Ten, but in the country, I would say. So you give him that one-on-one opportunity because you have to come out and step out on these shooters now. And I think a lot of the success as well could be attributed to Matt Painter and what a system that he's put together.
I mean, he's consistently recruiting these 7'5" players as part of a system. And now that he's gotten his shooters, it works.
It works. Purdue, they are looking to have a great season, a great Big Ten tournament, and possibly a great March. IU, though, they won at Maryland.
Hey, 2 wins in a row for the first time in conference play. Good for them. They beat Wisconsin at home and the Maryland away. 2 pretty good wins in the Big Ten. I mean, it's hard to win any game away in the conference. But they're looking forward, if they want any chance to even postseason play, probably 2 wins in the season out and maybe a win in the conference tournament might get them into the NIT at most. But at that point, it'd be nice for the Hoosiers to at least have some postseason play.
Malik Credue, Mackenzie Mbako, both had pretty solid games at Maryland. As we now take a broader look at the Division I level in the top 25. I like a lot of these teams. I think a lot of teams can do some damage coming March. As we look at who's doing well, Tennessee's on a burner. That entire top 5 is really sticking in their own
It's a
spot.
great top 5. You see Houston, I think, is the best team in college basketball. Their defense they have. And they seem to be one of the most clutch teams I've ever seen. Hit a buzzer beater to win the game against Oklahoma just the other day.
Yeah, we were on the bus with that.
We were on the bus. We watched that. The bus kind of we got loud when that shot went in. But Purdue, obviously, we talked about them. UConn, defending national champions, still a great squad. And then Tennessee, 2 straight ranked wins over the week, and they have 2 more ranked games coming up. In Tennessee, they're getting hot right now, and it's going to be hard to stop the Volunteers. If
you have a biggest winner this week, it probably has to be Tennessee, right? Yeah. 2 ranked wins. That doesn't come along every week, every day at all.
Especially in the SEC.
The SEC. And that's another thing. The SEC is tough this year.
It is.
You have ranked Alabama, South Carolina. We just mentioned
Kentucky.
Tennessee. So to see these teams go to work, I mean, that's some real competition for the Big Ten and everyone in the country.
It is.
In that SEC, though, I want to talk about number 16, Kentucky.
You love Kentucky.
I do love Kentucky. You know why? Because I love Rob Dillingham. This guy is a bucket. And to think at the beginning of the season, he was coming off the bench at times for Coach Calipari, and now he's out there almost a certified 25 a game.
I mean, he's going to be – I think he's the best prospect in the draft coming up. He has that level of talent that he could be a game changer in the NBA, in my opinion. Kentucky, they have the best offense in all of college ball. I think they've had 100-plus points the last 4 games. That's unheard of. But their defense is lackluster, but that'll be worked on. But Kentucky, if they can outpace, they can beat anyone.
And I like Rob, but we need to talk about this guy, Reed Shepherd, a freshman who, coming into the program, wasn't sure if he'd even see minutes like that his first year at Kentucky. But more than just minutes, this guy is finding buckets. This guy is finding baskets. This guy is finding the entire box score with his name written all over it. Just a guy right next to Dillingham. And as you said, probably the best offense in the NCAA, accompanied, as we should say, with the worst defense.
Yeah.
But in the case, we'll go ahead and preview Kentucky's hopes for the NCAA tournament. Best defense, best offense, which one would you rather have come March?
Best defense, 100%. In college ball, defense matters more than offense, in my opinion, which is why I think Houston is the best built team to win in March.
And Houston is a team that I feel like even though they sit at that 1, 2, 3 spot every year, they kind of fly under the radar, right? Because they've never been the most flashy team.
And now they're in a big conference. They just moved over from the AAC to the Big 12. Now they're with Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas Tech, all those, Big 12 schools, and they're competing with them. They're beating them, and they're number 1 in the nation while in the conference. They're proving themselves this year.
And a couple games to look at heading into this week. Number 2, Purdue is going to play Illinois. That's a Big Ten matchup there, 2 versus 13. Number 4, Tennessee, as we said, in the SEC will play number 18, South Carolina, UConn, Marquette. That's the top 5 squads.
I think Marquette will fall a little bit below 5 after the rankings come out because they just lost to Creighton over the last week. But they were missing their top 3 scorers, so an understandable loss for Marquette.
Kansas is coming off a loss. That's to Baylor. They'll play number 1, Houston.
They actually have back-to-back losses. They lost to BYU and Baylor over last week, Kansas.
It'll be interesting to see where they fall in the rankings. Kentucky, number 17, they'll play Tennessee. That is a game that we're looking out for. That's my game that I'm going to preview, or at least look forward to.
Mine's UNC and Duke.
That's this last one here.
Like UNC and Duke, that's the rivalry of college basketball. And with them both being top 10 squads, this is a big game in the ACC because Duke can still clinch a share of the ACC championship.
It's March. We're excited. Caden, Colford, and Jace Hodge. We'll move to the NBA when we come back on Last Call with a special guest in Chuck Foster.
Emma Donnan, elementary and middle school. Discover the Donnan difference. A school where you can celebrate others. Come together as a community. Be a part of a learning environment where students and teachers are appreciated. Emma Donnan, a culture that can't be beat, that's going onward together. A school filled with love. Emma Donnan.
I love my school.
How about those Nuggets this year, Jace? It sounds like a chip to me.
They ain't going back to back. Ain't no one getting past Boston. They got a super team, man.
All right, Jace, check up. This is the last call. Jace and I head-to-head on football, baseball, basketball, and everything UINDY.
Mondays, 6 p.m. UINDY TV on YouTube and Xfinity Stream Channel 1096.
It's March, so obviously that's known for college basketball, but the NBA still going strong post All-Star break. And we'll start here with the Pacers of Indiana. They're not playing their best basketball in at least the last 2 games. They take on the Spurs last night, and they fall 117-105. But as we start here, I want to introduce our guest in Charles Foster. I'll turn to you, Charles, say what's going on with the Pacers? What happened last night?
I think the biggest thing with the Pacers is it's the introduction of a new star. Obviously, whenever Pascal Siakam first came to Indiana, he was, kind of started to work out. But it's a little bit harder. Tyrese Halliburton's been kind of injured, and you can kind of just see that this team isn't playing the way it's supposed to because Tyrese Halliburton isn't playing the way he's supposed to.
And Tyrese Halliburton, he's coming off probably one of the worst games of his career, to put it frankly, right? You play against New Orleans, and did he score?
No, 0 points for the first time in his career since November of 2021.
So Sacramento at that point.
3 years since he had a scoreless game. But yeah, my worries, they center around Halliburton. Obviously, he had that hamstring injury, came back, was playing okay, had that phenomenal All-Star game. He looked fine then, came out of the All-Star break. That first game looked great. But since then, he's just been off. He can't find his shot. He's missed his last, 12 threes in a row. He hasn't hit a 3 in 3 games.
And do you think that's just a confidence thing? Do you think it's the hamstring?
I think it's mental right now. I think it's a part of the hamstring. I think he's still getting up to speed. But I think it's now becoming mental to him as well. You can see it in his face on the bench. He just doesn't look into it now.
I do want to say, it's important to note that we could also look at Steph Curry. The other night, he went 0 for 9.5 from distance. So it's not like Tyrese Halliburton is the only superstar in the league that's going to go through troubles like this. We see even the best, a one-time unanimous MVP in Steph Curry had the same faults as well. So I'm not willing to throw him under the bus just yet. I mean, this is a couple-game stretch, but do you see it lasting any longer?
Not too much longer. I think it's going to be a little bit of a mental gap for him to jump. But the Pelicans are one of the best wing defending teams in the league. It makes sense that he would struggle against them.
Yeah, you got Herb Jones, Zion.
Yeah.
But then the Spurs game, look at the Spurs game, and it's just, they fell apart in that one.
Yeah.
Wembanyama, how good is that guy, though? That dude is a freak.
You start this season, and you understand that the guy is absolutely an alien. But just to see how good he's gotten through the span of this season, the strides that he's taken, namely as a defender, league's on watch, and I'd say the league is scared to play this kid.
Absolutely, and especially with a coach like Popovich in this corner.
And I don't know if you could have a better situation set up if you're Victor Wembanyama. Obviously, he didn't come into a dynasty in its current form, but that's a foundation. That is a cornerstone of a franchise. Obviously, Pop's getting up there in years, but I think this guy sticks around to see what Wembanyama and where he can take the Spurs.
I agree.
Jace, as we move towards the Pacers and look towards their season, what do you expect from Tyrese Halliburton? How does he break out of this? And how can his teammates help him break out of this?
Halliburton just needs to keep shooting. At some point, he's going to see the ball go through the net. He's going to figure his shot back out. He's going to hit shots. It's bound to happen. It happens to every player at some point in their career. They get in a slump. He'll break out of it, I'm sure. But right now, filling in nicely is TJ McConnell. You see the game he had against the Spurs? 26 points and 5 assists. McConnell's filling in nicely. Coming into the year, McConnell was the third-string point guard. Carlisle basically benched him. And then now he's coming in and providing second-string minutes at the point guard position with Nembhard now playing shooting guard. Been beautiful so far, but they just need to keep passing Halliburton the ball. He needs to keep shooting the ball. At some point, he'll break out.
We'll take a quick look at the standings. Pacers sit at 8 in the East. That's being dominated by Boston. Just a quick look at the East. Does anybody catch Boston?
I don't think Boston's going to be caught. They have one of the best rosters in the league, and just they're right now in form. I mean, we saw the Warriors game.
Possibly one of the best rosters ever as we move to the West, where OKC has really stepped up that one spot. Do you see them letting that go?
I don't. I think they're the best team in the West right now. I think Shea, Shet, Giddey, they got it figured out in Oklahoma City.
That is an exciting team to watch. Boston, I feel, is one of the best lineups assembled in a long, long time, at least since 2016-17. Warriors, we're excited. Charles, we're going to hop into the primetime pick 'em after this, but thank you for joining us. We had a blast. We're going to have you on soon, again on Last Call. We'll be back for that primetime pick 'em after this.
How about those Nuggets this year, Jace? It sounds like a chip to me.
They ain't going back to back. Ain't no one getting past Boston. They got a super team, man.
All right, Jace, check up. This is Last Call. Jace and I head-to-head on football, baseball, basketball, and everything UINDY.
Mondays, 6 p.m. in UINDY TV on YouTube and Xfinity Stream Channel 1096.
Is shaping up to be a blast. Can't wait to the postseason, but we still have a lot of basketball to play until then. We mentioned OKC and Boston up top. You have dark horses throughout. Pacers could be considered one of those. I would say Knicks at some point, but as we look, who has the most pressure to win the NBA championship?
Oh, wow.
Now that is a question. I mean, I think Boston is a candidate for this, but at the same time, you're in a young core, right? So I feel like even if it's not this year, you have next year.
I got my pick already in my head.
So go ahead.
You want to go first?
No, go ahead, tell me.
The Clippers.
The Clippers.
The Clippers. They're getting up there in age. Paul George, Kawhi, Harden. Russ is now injured with a fractured hand. The Clippers, if they don't win it this year, it's going to be another 5-6 years before they get back in this position, in my opinion. I think they have the most pressure to make it far and make the NBA Finals at least.
I think that's a good point. I think you have a lot of veterans on that team who aren't exactly living in a world where there's a lot of sand in the hourglass, right?
Yeah.
So time's taking out on them. I thought about Denver, and if they just had a little window, but I don't. I think that pick and roll stays
they won it
there
last year. I think that's good enough.
forever. But I will mention, I think this is Miami's last shot. Really? Miami's possible last shot. I'll say that. Obviously, they're not contenders right now. Nobody's looking at them to win the finals. But if they're going to do it, this year is going to be the last year for Jimmy Butler and crew. But we'll hop into the primetime pick 'em. We'll start with every game this week. Starting Tuesday, tomorrow, Celtics at Cavs. High-powered offense versus high-powered offense. I think Celtics can beat anybody, should beat anybody, but in this one, it's going to be Cleveland.
Wow.
Cleveland has the matchups. Cleveland has the bigs. Obviously, Porzingis is really what makes this Celtics squad, but you have Evan Mobley matching up with him, Jared Allen, two great defensive bigs, and I think this is one of the only offense that can run with Boston.
I love the pick, but I don't think anyone competes with Boston. Boston's the best team in the NBA. They haven't lost in, I don't even remember when they last lost a basketball game at this point.
You'd have to go back in the history books at some point.
They're that good. They aren't going to lose this one.
And then we look next into Suns at Nuggets. In Denver, Jace, who's your pick?
Jokic.
Jokic.
He's the MVP this year, 100%. Best team, I think, in the NBA with alongside Boston.
Alongside Boston. They're probably, I think, the most talented in the West, the most certified in the West. I agree with you. They just have that standstill in there that some younger teams like OKC and Minnesota just aren't going to have. So as we wipe that slate, we'll say goodbye to the Suns and maybe next week for them, right? As we head into Wednesday, Clippers at Rockets. Now, Rockets are a young squad. They can play fast. They can win ball games. The Clippers, they're battling some injuries right now in Russ. And sometimes Kawhi and PG are in and out of the lineup. PG was day-to-day this past week. But I still think it's the Clippers. I still think that they should win against the Rockets. But this is a wild card team.
Once again, like you said, they should win against the Rockets. I think they will win against the Rockets. The Rockets, they have the talent. They just haven't put it all together yet. But the Clippers, they have. So give me LA in this one.
Rockets are a team to look for later in the season, possibly early next season, as we look at the second game on the slate for Wednesday. And the Bucks, as they head to Golden State to play the Warriors. And Jace, these are two teams that are actually pretty hot as of late.
Not the Warriors. They just got smoked by 60 yesterday by Boston.
That's Boston. That's Boston.
And I think off the back of that one, they aren't going to recover in time. Give me the Bucks.
Okay.
And the Bucks, they've been hot. They figured it out under Doc Rivers. They've gotten their defense going, and they're going to be a real threat come playoff time.
But I'll tell you what, there's a reason Milwaukee struggles against the Pacers. It's because of the pace of play.
Okay.
Warriors are one of the fastest teams in the league. Klay Thompson's starting to line it up. Steph Curry is getting back to his thing after his performance at the Garden. Obviously, they're coming off a loss against Boston, but that is the best team that we've seen in years. Give me the Warriors. Finally, or not finally, we go on to Thursday. Heat at Mavericks. Mavericks, a good team, great players, well coached. Heat, they're winners. Heat are winners, especially at this point in the NBA season.
I agree. I actually agree with this one. This one gave me, it was a tricky pick here with Mavericks being at home. The Heat, though, heading towards the end of the season, Jimmy Butler, like you said.
They're hot.
Proven winner. They're hot. They're going to win this one.
Jimmy Butler is that guy. I'm looking for him. That's why I said that they're still going to be in the conversation towards the end of the season.
They always are. They're always there. I mean, last year they're the play-in team. They made the NBA Finals. You can never count out Miami.
This is a matchup right here, and the Celtics at the Nuggets. Jace, two Goliaths going at each other from both conferences, probably the top Eddies.
I picked Boston the first time. I'm going to go with them again. I just think they're the best team in the NBA, and I don't see anyone that can match up with them on their good night.
Now, Boston are good. Denver's good. You have that pick and roll and Jokic and Murray. But Boston.
Did you pick against Boston twice?
I don't know, Jace, did I?
Yeah, because you had Cavaliers.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Jokic
you can't
and
pick
Murray.
against Boston twice.
But I like the pace at which Denver plays with. I think Boston can play both fast and slow. But Warriors are the best at playing fast, and the Nuggets are the best at playing slow. So I think
you have your opinion.
They have the advantages in that regard. Next game, as we go into Friday to begin the weekend, T-Wolves at Cavs, and I like the Cavaliers. I think. Excuse me. Yeah, I like the Cavs. I know the pick was the Timberwolves, but I like the Cavs. I think they're.
Hey, it counts in that one. Give me the Cavs.
Okay. Fine.
So I can go one on this one. I like that.
A scratch, some misdirection going on in my mind. I couldn't choose between these two squads. One of the best offenses versus probably the best defense in the league. I think it's a toss-up.
Give me the Cavaliers at home. Home court advantage was as well.
And then to wrap up Friday, Lakers are hosting the Bucks. Where I feel like, Jace, both of these teams can play at an elite level, and both of them playing pretty solid right now.
Bucks.
The Bucks.
The Lakers, they won their quote-unquote Super Bowl, beating the Clippers the other day.
Well, they also won the in-season tournament, and they're also coming off
that's just a glorified
that
trophy.
Amazing game against the Clippers.
Trophy.
And LeBron James is having a renaissance in his career, and I think they beat the Bucks.
How is he 39 years old doing what he's doing in the NBA? That shouldn't be possible.
The LeBron James renaissance is upon us.
He's not beating Giannis, though.
Watch him. Watch him, Jace.
Okay, I will.
Saturday, Celtics at Suns.
If you pick
two
Phoenix,
all-star lineups, I'm going to pick Boston. I think this one's pretty
You
self-explanatory.
finally went Boston, didn't you?
And then, so we're both agreed on Boston. We hop into Sunday's slate. Lakers are going to host the Timberwolves now, where – go ahead, Jace.
Give me the T-Wolves. I don't like the Lakers. I don't like the Lakers at all.
Why don't you like the Lakers?
I just don't think they're built well. There's a bunch of veterans that just, in my opinion, is not going to mesh in the playoffs.
You see it. You see it. The LeBron James renaissance is what I'm going to call it. The guy's 39, putting all these youngins, if you will, on blast. He's playing like one of the top 3 players in the NBA right now at 39. That's what he's playing like, and he's backing it up. And finally, last game here on the primetime pick'em, the Knicks are hosting the Sixers, where even after a Jalen Brunson injury,
that's what I'm worried about here.
We watched a team with 3 subs off the bench win. last night. I think they do it
That's
again.
why I'm concerned. If Brunson isn't going to play this game, it might be closer, but still, no Joel Embiid for Philadelphia, I don't think. Give me the Knicks in this one.
They're just incomplete without an MVP candidate in Joel Embiid. We've had fun here on the Primetime Pick'em as we take a look at who's doing well. Okay, see, I was down last week. Last week, and there was a lot of chitter-chatter going on.
Hey.
But I'm seeing tied.
It's tied. There's no bragging rights right now. But come next week, don't worry. All those Boston picks against you, they're going to hurt you.
Yeah,
they're going to hurt
when you pick the favorite every time.
Well, technically, usually the favorite wins Boston.
Usually.
If you're Boston, you're going to win.
You're going to know when to fold them, as one would say.
We'll see next week.
But I'm excited. We're tied up right now. It won't be the case next week because Jace, he can't pick a game to save his life. Right?
Okay.
He started off strong.
I was a game up. You
He
came back
was.
by one
Notice
game.
was.
You want a cookie? You want a cookie if you're coming back a game?
Some chocolate chip, please.
Okay. I got you.
Jace Hodge.
I don't got you.
Jace Hodge, Caden Colford. Big thanks to everybody back in the studio behind the camera. We'll be back next Monday breaking down more NBA, Pacers, college basketball, and we're also going to look at that conference tournament preview, the NCAA tournament. We're hyped. It's March. Let's go.